Hey everybody, welcome to Pop Culture Philosophers. I'm Rockin' Robbie Billups, and it's time for the weekly comic book review. That's right, everybody. Welcome to Pop Culture Philosophers. I am Rockin' Robbie Billups. This is the weekly comic book review, and yes, we're doing it live yet again. Why? Because I just celebrated my birthday. I took a little bit of time off on the weekend. My DC comics got late. We had the birthday stream last night, so I had to read a big chunk of comics today, and I literally just got finished just like several minutes ago. So we're just going to do it, and we're going to do it live because I didn't want you to have to wait until the middle of the night to get the weekly comic book review. And we always start with the pick of the week. This week's pick of the week is Rorschach number 8. Y'all, this book blew me away. So the first issue of Rorschach, when it came out, let's just go ahead and get this elephant out of the room. I gave it a really terrible review. And then it blew me away in issue number 2. And it's been like really impressing me every single time, every single month. Rorschach has been impressing me. It's written by Tom King with artwork by Jorge Fornes and Dave Stewart. Why does this issue make the pick of the week? Well, it's that amazing artwork. It's that amazing story, the structure, the way Tom King plays with it. This story is just a very simple, it's a simple story. It's just very simply a police interrogation of 3 different people. But if you notice, it can be read, you can just read one of them. You can read them all on their own, and they all like have color-coded like things across. Or you can read it all as one page and go along. There are 2 different ways to read this book that contains 3 different stories. And I thought it was phenomenal. Seriously, the way that Jorge Fornes works with the composition, the way that Tom King works with the structure in this book is freaking awesome. You don't see this kind of stuff in comic books often. You see at times where people will kind of play around with having to spin a book around or reading it a certain way or this way or that way. But this was pretty freaking awesome. I mean, Tom King has done a great job of, what's a Rorschach book going to be about? You know, this is a sequel to The Watchmen in a way. It's a sequel to the HBO show in a way, or at least it takes place in that world, right? So what are you actually going to do with this? And what he's doing is he's telling a very clever detective story using very innovative means to completely just invert and subvert all of our expectations, I should say. I thought this book was awesome. He's getting into the legacy of Rorschach not just as a figure in the world of the Watchmen, but also as a created figure, and how that is reflective of certain comic book creators. There's a lot of interesting things going on in Rorschach that makes it a must-read, but in issue number 8, it's the structure that makes it the pick of the week. Seriously, 3 stories. You can read it 2 completely different ways, and you get 2 different vibes out of the whole thing. This book blew me away. It was a really close tie between it and a certain other movie about a seller of dairy products. However, Rorschach number 8 makes the pick of the week. So let's continue on with DC. We got Justice League The Last Ride. Justice League Last Ride is written by Chip Zdarsky. It's got artwork by, is it Miguel? Yeah, Miguel Mendonca, whatever. The artwork's pretty solid. It's pretty decent. It's got a nice Derek Robertson cover there. He's got a couple covers coming up from DC, actually. So this is like an Elseworlds type story. Now, it doesn't say that it is, but that's not what DC's been doing. But if you notice, it doesn't have... Actually, they've changed all their logos in the Infinite Frontier. But the artwork's pretty solid. It's decent. But it's Chip Zdarsky doing the Justice League. And now, this is an Elseworldsy type tale. In fact, at the end of Heavy Metal, we were led to believe that there is a world out there in the Omniverse called the Elseworld. Rumors have it that this is the first story dealing with that world. That aside, all that coolness aside, what this really is it's a story about the Justice League that is broken up. Batman has done something to piss off Superman finally. There is no more Justice League. And then all of a sudden they get a distress call from Jon Stewart and they have to come back together. Of course, Bruce and Clark, they're not cool with each other. Diana feels stuck in the middle. And this is something that Chip Zdarsky does so freaking well in his books. He understands the legacy, the history of the characters, and he can do something with it that feels classic yet new all at the same time. I think this is the start of a 6-issue miniseries, maybe 5. It was originally going to be digital first, but that is no longer the case. It's got solid artwork. It's got a really cool story. It's got some great personality clashes between members of the Justice League. I really liked it. And with the idea, rumors being, that it is somehow kind of connected to this Elseworld, this very, in particular, this Elseworld, like there's something significant about it. There you go. And we now have had rumors leading into that there's another crisis on the horizon. Let's go ahead and say this. There's always a rumor that there's another crisis on the horizon at DC, because that's just how they do it. But I like it when it's built up to naturally, fluidly, organically. What I really like about DC right now as a whole is, I am so distracted by my microphone right now. What I like about DC as a whole right now, since DC Infinite Frontier, is that it feels connected. It feels cohesive. It feels like it's all got one direction. And even an Elseworlds tale like Justice League Last Ride does that. Totally worth it. Really liked it. Then we got Future State Gotham. That's right, we're going back to Future State, but I'm down for it. Because first of all, not only have I recently kind of been digging Harley Quinn, I've been recently digging Jason Todd, Red Hood. And it's one of the reasons is because of the Future State work that was done. So if you liked that Red Hood backup story that was in 2 of those issues of Dark Detective, you should probably like this one. It's written by Joshua Williamson and Dennis Culver. It's got artwork by Milo Giannonis. I probably butchered that. It is totally a manga. It's like got this really deep, heavy manga influence. It's black and white, but there are extra pages in it. And it's only $3.99. But I had a lot of fun with this. It's action-packed. It's really heavy. This is a book that goes back to Future State. It focuses on Gotham in Future State, in particular Red Hood. Red Hood's joined up with the Magistrate. We knew this from that Dark Detective backup story. And he's kind of working undercover, but at the same time still not really like being embraced by the Bat family. He's out there hunting down masks in the Magistrate Gotham. So I really liked it. The artwork had a nice, crisp, action-packed manga influence to it that really, really works. Future State Gotham is the start of a new miniseries, mostly Red Hood focused, and it is black and white, so if black and white comics bother you, don't pick this one up, but I really liked it. It did have a backup story in it, just a random Batman black and white story that was pretty solid. But Gotham, Future State, I liked it. I really did. You know, and we weren't expecting to go back to Future State already, but I'm kind of excited that they did, and that they did it in that way. Book feels really freaking cool. Then we got DC's Festival of Heroes, the Asian Superhero Celebration. So this is a $10, 100-page one-shot that is celebrating the Asian characters of DC. So you got some Connor Hawke in here. You got some Cassandra Cain in here. You got some Cheshire Cat in here. So you got a Adam, New Superman. You got a lot of cool characters being utilized by Asian talent. So that's kind of the gist here. That's kind of the point. You got a story by Ram V. That was the best out of the whole bunch. That was fantastic. It was a Cheshire Cat story that ties into some of the upcoming Catwoman stories going on. But you actually had some really solid work. You had the introduction of a brand new character, the Monkey Prince. That's from Gene Luen Yang. And I really liked the book. I think it was pretty solid overall. When it comes to these oversized DC specials, sometimes it's like half good, half bad. This one was, I would say, like 70% good, like 30% just kind of forget about it. But all in all, it was pretty interesting, and it focused on some characters that I really liked. So I thought that was pretty decent. Then we got the Joker. By the way, you can follow him at thejoker.com. Anyway, The Joker, number 3. Let's get this out of the way. It's a $5.99 comic for no freaking reason. That sucks. That stinks. And that's terrible. However, this book is one of DC's best right now. Seriously. James Tynion IV, Gilliam March. This book is freaking amazing. The Joker is more of a presence that is felt on every single page. It is a Jim Gordon story. And here they're going back and they're revisiting some of the stuff from Killing Joke and how that's going to make Gordon feel. And at the same time, really just crafting this really great detective noir story. March's artwork is some of the best of his career. in American comics. He's got another book out this week that's also freaking good. I've never been the biggest March fan, but he's really winning me over lately. The Joker is a great detective story, really focused in on Jim Gordon, but it is a Joker story because he really just oozes his influence across every single frickin' page. This book maintains its awesomeness. It's got a great ending. The Punchline backup story, Sam Johns, James Tynion, it's decent. It's all right. That's not going to sell you, but the main story alone is freaking fantastic in Joker. And 3 issues in, it's really taking this whole A-Day, Bane versus Joker mystery and all the Gordon stuff, and it just keeps delivering a really fantastic read, a great experience, a nice detective story that feels a bit noirish, but still very cemented in the power of DC Comics. Then we got Batman the Detective #2. This is the second issue of a 6-issue series from Tom Taylor and Andy Kubert. This is an Elseworlds type Batman story where Batman is a little bit more aged, a little bit more grizzled, a little bit more done with it. In fact, he's so done with it that he decides to leave Gotham and just goes to London. He's like, whatever. So this is a nice throwback to those globe-trotting Batman days of like the 70s and whatnot. It's got Knight and Squire in it. It's got a nice detective story. It's got some interesting revelations about Batman's past, or at least this Batman's past, we should say. Great dynamic artwork for Andy Kubert. I'm a big fan of the Kuberts, and I love Andy's work on Batman when he was with Grant Morrison, so it's nice to see him back. And Tom Taylor really understands the iconic characters of DC, how to tell a familiar yet not completely steeped in cliche story. He's able to do something familiar yet different at the same time, something exciting, and that's what he's doing with Batman the Detective #2. By the way, you can follow Batman at the Batman the Detective. Anyway, another Batman book this week is Batman Urban Legends issue #3. Another great story by Chip Zdarsky. Another great Red Hood story by Chip Zdarsky. There's this story. Red Hood has found a kid. He kills the kid's dad. The mom's like in a coma, and now he doesn't know what to do. And Batman, you're like, oh man, it's about to go down between Bruce and Jason. In this issue, it doesn't quite take the turn that I was expecting, but it does reveal some things about the character of Batman and his relationship with Jason. And I thought that was really nifty, and that was really neat. The Grifter story in here by Matthew Rosenberg is still super solid and very fun. I like how it's kind of revealing new things, newish things about Grifter, kind of filling in some gaps and things like that. This is a new interpretation of the character yet again, but it's actually working, placing him in Gotham, and that's pretty cool. Then you got the finale of that Outsider story, and it's all right. And then you got a new story. It's a Lady Shiva story, and it's all right. By the way, Eddie Barrow's artwork on the Jason Todd story, pretty solid, pretty freaking solid. So some good stuff is happening here. The backup stuff is starting to wane a little bit, but let me tell you what, that Chip Zdarsky Red Hood Batman story that's been in the pages of this, it's pretty much worth it alone, especially when you add in the idea of a pretty bomb-ass grifter story. Superman is here with issue #31. So the last issue of Action Comics absolutely freaking blew me away. Superman's different. Superman right now is the book that's kind of like just biding time, because this book is about to become the new Superman, son of Kal-El, the Jonathan-centric book. So what we're getting here is we're getting the story about the passing of the torch. And so you're getting the sentimental journey of Superman and Jonathan up against a big threat, but that's what they're dealing with through the narrative, through the emotional character-driven work that's being done. The big stuff is cool, and it's all right. And Philip Kennedy Johnson's doing a really good job here with the story. But the artwork in this one just doesn't sell me. It's, who is the artist on this one? It is Scott Godlewski. It's just not working for me. It doesn't quite fit the epic scope that Philip Kennedy Johnson has for his books. He develops a new power, basically, or a new way to use a familiar power for Jonathan Kent. So that's interesting. I like seeing things move forward like that, but the artwork just doesn't quite capture the grandiose epicness that this Superman book deserves. And it's right now something that Action Comics is doing a little bit better, but it's the same writer, and it all depends on the artist. This book, like I said, is just biding time and filling in that gap until Jonathan takes over and Kal-El has his own journey in action, and you definitely see a very strong artistic and story direction in that book. But Superman 31, pretty decent. It was all right. Wonder Woman 772 This book's freaking awesome, y'all. Like, how in the world did Wonder Woman become one of my favorite books? But every time I read this book, it feels dense. It feels fantastical. It feels grounded. It feels awesome. One of the reasons why is because of Travis Moore's artwork with Tamara Bonvillain, right? Yeah, Tamara Bonvillain doing the coloring. An amazing color. She is one of the best colorists in the business right now. But y'all, this book is actually pretty freaking cool. So after the end of Heavy Metal, or is it Death Metal? I keep saying Heavy Metal. It's Death Metal. You guys are thinking I'm talking about 2000 AD. Anyway, no, I'm not. 2000 AD is not Heavy Metal. What's wrong with me, Robbie? Anyway, this is what happens when I do this live. Wonder Woman is a fantastic freaking book. So Wonder Woman is coming back to the DC universe, but she winds up going to the wrong afterlife, and she winds up in Valhalla. And she's just fighting through Valhalla. Look at the coloring there, y'all. Look at that coloring. Look at that artwork. Travis Moore's doing great artwork. Will Conrad, Becky Cloonan, doing an amazing job with this book. Like I said, it's dense. It's fantastical. It's engaging. It's exciting. I freaking love it. Wonder Woman's one of my favorite DC books right now. So there you go. Challenge of the Super Friends, or Super Sons, number 2. Challenge of the Super Sons, number 2 is really cool because it's exciting to see Peter Tomasi once again write Damian Wayne and Jonathan Kent at that age when they're both like nearish the same age and having their adventures together. This is a digital first book, and you can totally tell in the artwork, because I hate it when you can totally tell that it's done in a landscape format, and so it kind of messes with the composition, because each page is just kind of half composed, because there's like 2 compositions on each page. But it still works, and it's still fun, and Peter Tomasi still has the voices of these characters ringing true, and I'm still liking it, and I'm glad that DC doesn't care so much about doing stories so much in the now. Here's the thing. When DC said that they were going to stop focusing so much on continuity and just focus on branding and all the stories they could tell from the past and possible futures or whatnot, we all rolled our eyes. But let me tell you something. It gives us books like Challenge of the Super Sons, and also all their other books still feel so connected, so cohesive. It just blows me away. Wonder Woman and I wasn't talking about Wonder Woman anymore. Challenge of the Super Sons, pretty solid. The Batman Scooby-Doo Mysteries, number 2. Yeah, I read the second issue. It was a giant week, and I was like, you know what? I should skip this one. But I didn't. Why? Because this is just stupid fun. It's Batman and the Scooby-Doo gang, mixing it up for like a Joker mystery. It's silly. It's stupid. This is the Scooby gang, by the way, going into the Batcave, and it's haunted by a ghost, and they have to try to figure it out after they wrap up some stuff with the Joker. But it's fun and it's silly. It's $2.99, so why the hell not? Then we have The Dreaming Waking Hours, issue number 10. I'm really liking this book. I like it a lot. It's really starting to ramp up. I feel like G. Willow Wilson only has so much longer left on this book, and they're really kind of building it up to a natural point and ending some of the journeys of these characters. You get some big revelations on what some actual characters' powers are, and even their abilities, you should say. But the artwork by Nick Robles, M.K. Perker, and Matthew Lopez is just freaking amazing. Chris Sotomayor. I love this book. I think it's great. If you're a big fan of the Neil Gaiman stuff, I think you'll really like this. The Simon Spurrier Dreaming book was good, and this is a great follow-up to it. Focuses in on different characters, but it still has just as much respect for what's come before and what it's setting up to come after. So, pretty freaking solid. Now let's jump over to Marvel, where we got a debut of a new book, X-Corp number 1. X-Corp number 1. So this is a long-awaited book. We knew this was coming for a long time. It's written by Teenie Howard. It's got artwork by Alberto Focci. It's all right. It's kind of dull. It's kind of boring. Let me be honest with you. The setup of the book is this. This is about the business side of the X-Men. So Krakoa makes these drugs. They got to make these deals with these different countries, with these different industries. And this is the story of Monet and Warren Worthington putting together their team for the X Corporation. So, if I told you that there was a book that was about the corporate side of superheroes, about like all the mundane activity, about setting up deals and all this stuff, with maybe a little bit of action, that would sound like a really rather dull and boring book, right? Well, guess what? It was. This book was rather dull, and it was very boring to me. corporate stuff like that just doesn't quite work. And yet again, here's an example of Marvel not understanding what the audience wants. Every week here on live streams, every week in comments, every week watching other people on YouTube, it seems like everybody's saying, X-Men, we're done. Like, I still have faith in what Hickman's doing, but I'm just done. And it's because they do all these crossovers. They keep pumping out all these books. Obviously, Marvel, the last thing we want right now is another X-Men book. And then you give us literally one of the dullest concepts for a book. This is about the corporate idea, the corporate business side of the X-Men, how they're making deals and all the, oh, don't worry, there's a little bit. This book is so dull and boring. Skip it. Don't worry about it. Don't even stretch. Don't even weirdly stretch. The Amazing Spider-Man, giant size he is this week, with King's Ransom. So I've been saying really nice things about Spider-Man lately. Really, really nice things lately about this book. And then they do this, okay? They do this. This is what's happening. This is what's happening. This is what's happening. You're telling a great story, Nick Spencer. You're doing a good job. And you're getting me excited for these last few issues. You're leaning into the boomerang stuff and whatever. Now, let me just tell you this. In this issue, they kind of wrap up all the boomerang stuff. This whole King's Ransom story, they wrap it up. Now, here's something that happens. The ending of this book excites me. I really like the ending. It made it seriously made, like the 80s, like 8-year-old Robbie jump for joy, okay? But 80s 8-year-old Robbie didn't really know too much. Let's be honest, okay? I don't know much now. I didn't know much then. But as exciting as the ending of this book was, and I like actually how they kind of wrapped up the boomerang story, but I did feel like it was wasted opportunity. You ready for this? This is a giant-size Amazing Spider-Man King's Ransom one-shot special that you must read if you've been reading Spider-Man and you skip this and you get the next issue. You will be so freaking lost. This literally is the conclusion of the story, and you ready for this? It's $5.99. $5.99 for a giant-sized conclusion. Why? Why? Why a giant-sized conclusion? Did we not just have Last Remains? Do we not just have this crazy, like, 14-part story? A big finish? Do we not already know that we're being teased into the Sinister War and more stuff with Kindred? We already know that this stuff is coming. So why does Marvel feel the need to do a $6 giant-size extravaganza conclusion? That's just another issue of Amazing Spider-Man that concludes just another story, yet another story building up to yet another bigger story that it's like Nick Spencer's all promises. You know, there's some fulfillment in this issue. Don't get me wrong. There's some things in this issue I like, but it's overbloated. It's self-indulgent. That's what Spider-Man is. Why do they do this? Because we keep buying it. Here is Reborn number 2. It's all right. It's not as good as the first one. I really like the first one. It's about a world in which Blade wakes up one day and everything has changed. The Avengers have never existed. Tony Stark's still a weapons dealer. Carol Danvers is still in the military. Captain America was never found in the ice. Thor is a drunk running around because Asgard is gone or whatever. Blade's the only one that seems to remember it. And now Phil Coulson is the president of the United States, and the Squadron Supreme are the heroes of the Marvel Universe. And obviously they're the Justice League because that's the whole point of the Squadron Supreme when they were created decades ago. That was the whole point of these characters. So that's interesting to see. A world without the Avengers is kind of like an Age of Apocalypse thing, like a Flashpoint thing, how, you know, whatever you want to say. That whole kind of vibe is going on. We got Del Keown artwork here, and that's interesting. In the first pages, we have Galactus showing up, and it shows us how Hyperion deals with this. That's not how it works, Jason Aaron, just by the way. Anyway, but Del Keown's artwork's pretty cool at times, though. Just a bit too static, a bit too... It's just... He's obviously not at the top of his game anymore, but it's still cool to see some nice action. And there are... This is mostly a Hyperion-focused issue. So the first issue I liked because I was like, okay, we're about to get into it. Blade's about to go and get the rest of the Avengers. They're going to form it together and have to fight the Squadron Supreme, whatever. That sounds cool. But in this one, we kind of pull it back a little bit, and now we're spending too much time developing Hyperion and leaning maybe too much into the Superman comparison. Seriously, like Hyperion's meant to be a Superman type character, but different. And one of the ways you make him different is not have his story be exactly the same. So it's some interesting things that Jason Aaron's doing here that makes me feel a little bit like it's, fun and goofy and cool. But at the same time, it didn't deliver on the promise of the first issue, which was a very explosive and powerful comic book that I had a lot of fun with. This one just kind of pulls back a little too much. And let's be honest, if you didn't know who the Squadron Supreme was, you would think Jason Aaron's just ripping off Superman here. And I understand that. That's not what he's doing, but at the same time, that's exactly what he's doing because he's leaning too far into it. Heroes Reborn, number 2, was okay. And now the tie-ins start. So at least most of the tie-ins for Heroes Reborn are going to be one-shot, so whatever. I can go ahead and tell you that there are 2 out this week. These do not matter to the main story. So if you are committed to reading all of Heroes Reborn, you don't have to read this, but it does fill some cool background. Hyperion and the Imperial Guard is a one-shot. There is a bit in there where the Shi'ar show up and they're all like the Brood or whatever. Like I showed that image already, so I feel like I've already spoiled it. That's what kind of this is about. This is like set in the past and it's Hyperion and it shows the story of how it explains one scene from this book. And that's kind of what Peter Parker, the amazing Shutterbug, does as well. But Hyperion and the Imperial Guard as a book was okay. It's neat because it like throws and it adds the idea that this book has existed, and even in the beginning of it, they call it like issue 121 or whatever, and that's cool. But this one was kind of weak. It was kind of weak. This book was a little bit better, but at the same time, it's just another spin on the origin of Spider-Man. What if he never got bit by the spider, right? And I don't understand why there being no Avengers means that Peter doesn't get bit by the spider, but there's just somebody manipulating everything, and I'm pretty sure it's Phil Coulson / Mephisto or whatever. So you're getting some interesting stuff here. It's a journey that Peter didn't really get to take. What if Peter never became Spider-Man and actually got to graduate and focus on school and all that kind of stuff? But then things get flipped around. But basically the whole idea of this is if Hyperion is Superman, Peter Parker's his Jimmy Olsen. So this is Peter Parker as Jimmy Olsen, but done a little bit differently, and it's okay. That was decent. The Hyperion one was kind of weak, and Heroes Reborn 2 was just okay. But none of the tie-ins are worth it. Like, they're not essential whatsoever. Fantastic Four 32, beginning the Bride of Doom story. I know everybody's excited about this because Doom's about to get married. Why is Doom getting married? Well, it doesn't quite get fully explained in here, but it does get set up. But I will say this, once again, another fantastic issue of Fantastic Four. Dan Slott, and maybe it's been the whole idea that his Iron Man run's kind of done now or whatever, and the focus is on Fantastic Four. It reads like nice, fun Fantastic Four stories, classic, energized, interesting, lots of references to the past, but still fresh, still new, still something different. Understands all of the characters, and he's setting up this whole Bride of Doom thing, and it doesn't seem boring. It doesn't seem stupid. This is a very much a Johnny Storm-centric issue, and I really think that Dan Slott's been doing a great job here. R.B. Silva on the artwork has really helped turn the page. There's lots of fun, lots of melodrama, and it's exactly what I want out of a Fantastic Four book, and I couldn't be more pleased. Y'all, Doom's about to get married. What's that all about? Spider-Man Spider Shadow number 2 is here. It's basically What If, but now What If is going to be a series of mini-series. Because why not? And this is Chip Zdarsky and Pascal Ferry doing a What If book that we've read before. What if Peter Parker kept the alien symbiote, but doing it a little bit different. So in the first issue, Spider-Man fought Hobgoblin, and in that whole fiasco, Aunt May died. So that causes Spider-Man to go overboard, and he kills Hobgoblin. And in this one, he comes right after J. Jonah Jameson. He comes right after the Kingpin. This is good stuff. And like I said before in tonight's video, Chip Zdarsky understands legacy. He understands the characters. He understands how to take those, twist them around to his own needs and purposes, and fuel them back at us in a different and fun way. Spider-Man Spider Shadow is a really solid What If comic book. One of the problems with What If books was that they were all one-shots. So there was no real punch to any of the big bits because they had to like just do it all in one small issue. Being able to extend it out with someone like Chip Zdarsky, with an artist like Ferry, it makes it rather dynamic, and the emotional stuff really hits even harder. Over hard, some could say. Children of the Atom #3 is here. An interesting enough issue, but it didn't quite sell me like issue 1 or 2 did. I'm excited to see what Vita Ayala is going to be doing with these characters and what the reveal they have in store for us is once this is all said and done. I think there's only 2 or 3 more issues, but this one starts just getting a little bit more dull, a little bit more boring, a little bit more letting you know that in the long run, this is going to be a rather insignificant X book. Unless someone eventually one day picks up something with these characters. But I'm still engaged. There's some interesting character work being done. Vita understands how to write youthful characters, and I applaud them for that. But the book started losing a little bit of my attention in that one. Let's jump over to Image, where we have Time Before Time #1. This book is freaking awesome. This book was really cool. It's written by Declan Shalvey. And co-written by Rory McConville with artwork by Joe Palmer and Chris O'Halloran, lettering by Hassan Osman El Howe. The lettering and the coloring is freaking fantastic. Look at that beautiful gatefold cover by Shalvey there. Declan does an amazing job there. And Declan's not just a great artist, he's also a great writer. So I really like this book. It's about these people somewhere in the future where they can travel back in time, and it's not all explained, but they're like moving people through time for some reason. Like they're taking this person and moving them back to 1987. They're moving this person back to 1999 or something like this. But it seems like they're all kind of like prisoners to this, like they have to do it or something, and it's not very beneficial to their health. And these 2 dudes decide that they want to steal one of these time pods and just disappear into the time stream. But it doesn't go very, very nice. So it's kind of like a crime fiction heist type thing. Very like a low budget. Imagine like a low-budget day in the life crime story, but with a nice sci-fi edge to it. This book was really cool, very imaginative, and very well executed. The artwork, the lettering, everything about this book was super top-notch, and it really hooks you in the very beginning because they're relocating this family into 1987, and there's like this teenager there, and they're like, yo, what's the Wi-Fi password? I'm like, Wi-Fi? That's pretty freaking funny. Then we got Geiger #2, a fantastic issue of Jeff Johns and Gary Frank's Geiger with Brad Anderson doing the coloring. So you can definitely feel the influence of Doomsday Clock. What's a Doomsday Clock? You ever heard of that book? Anyway, you feel the influence of Watchmen and Doomsday Clock in on this book, but it still is doing its own thing, just meaning that it's a little bit more dense than what you would typically expect from Jeff Johns' work. I'm loving what Gary Frank and Brad Anderson are doing. I love it artistically. I love the story. We got the introduction of basically a new superhero at Image by Jeff Johns. He's got these radioactive powers. He glows. And then you got this crazy like kid that's like running Las Vegas or something like that, or a part of Las Vegas. It's really cool, imaginative, great world building, and a really great setup in issue #1 that really does a great job with issue #2 because it introduces more characters, it fulfills out more, or it fills out more of that world building, and it just does a fantastic job. I loved this book. Nice, super clean artwork, and a very impeccably crafted story. Geiger #2, sold. This one was almost the pick of the week because it's Ice Cream Man. Ice Cream Man #24. I really thought Rorschach did more with the structure artistically and all that kind of stuff. But Ice Cream Man #24 was a freaking amazing book. Do not hesitate to buy this one. It's a one-and-done story like Ice Cream Man always is. If you've never read an issue of Ice Cream Man, lo and behold, you could read this issue and just completely enjoy it and understand everything that Ice Cream Man represents. This one is a telethon issue, as it lets us know right there. Amazing artwork by Martin Marazzo. It starts off with this dude having some dental work done. They have to pull a tooth, and all of a sudden, there's this telethon going on where they're trying to raise money to save Jerry's life. And they ain't raising a dime. And as the story progresses, this dude's health just gets worse and worse because nobody's raising money for him. It's a really crazy book that's unsettling, bittersweet, and sickly sweet at the same time. Like every single issue of Ice Cream Man, Martin Marazzo, Chris O'Halloran, they do amazing jobs on the artwork here. But the story and the subtext involved, the idea that why do we got to crowdfund surgeries? Why do we got to crowdfund, when someone gets cancer? Like, it's a really sad situation, and they take a really weird and quirky way to look at it, but that's what this book is about to me, and I think it does it rather magnificently, because you're trying, you find out something, you got some disease, you got to crowdfund your health treatments. Oh, you got to have a surgery, we got to crowdfund that. Oh, somebody died, you got to crowdfund that. Like, there's something really incredible going on in the pages of Ice Cream Man in every single issue, but in particular in issue 24. But I mean, honestly, I just would say that about every single issue of Ice Cream Man. That book was freaking awesome. The Silver Coin, #2. So this is a anthology series with artwork by Michael Walsh. The first issue was written by Chip Zdarsky. This issue is written by Kelly Thompson, and it's called Girls of Summer. So each issue is going to involve a silver coin that winds up in the possession of somebody, and it somehow changes everything in a not so good way. In the first one, it was a musician who picked up the coin, used it as a pick, became super famous, and then caused the deaths of many, many people. This one is a nice tribute to summer camp slasher films. 100%. So way to go, Kelly. I really like this book. I thought it was great. If you like what we've been doing over at Dylan's Horror Show, if you like the summer camp horror films like Friday the 13th, The Burning, Sleepaway Camp, if you like that kind of jive, you're really going to dig into this. I really like this story. I thought it was good. It's about this little girl that goes to camp, and there's this legend that the serial killer killed everybody at the camp years ago. And yes, the silver coin gets involved, and it gets wild, and it gets crazy. Michael Walsh's artwork is still fantastic and does something completely different than what the Chip Zdarsky story did. And Kelly Thompson is doing a great job with this story, a nice tribute to those summer camp slasher films, but still doing its own thing. Silver Coin #2 was awesome. Carmen, #3, from Image Comics. This is by Gilliam March, who's been doing the Joker. I can't show you many pages inside of here because there's a lot of nudity in it, but I can tell you this. This book is March as the best storyteller that I've ever seen him do. The story is amazing. Now, it's a similar story. It's about a woman who's tried to commit suicide. She dies, and then she is confronted by death. So you get the idea that Carmen is a death. So it's got some vibes from Dead Like Me. It's got some vibes from The Good Place in there. Maybe just a little bit, but it's still doing its own thing. The most amazing thing to me about this is, first of all, Gilliam March, as a writer, trying to do some real emotional work, some character work, and he's doing a great job with it, but it's the storytelling in the book, the way he tells the story, the way sequentially the images flow together is absolutely masterful. Carmen, #3, was pretty freaking dope. Now we got Silver City, #1, a new one from Aftershock Comics. It was all right. I thought it was decent. This one gave me some Good Place vibes as well, because this one is about this big tragedy happens, all these people die, and then they just land in this crazy place, and it's the afterlife, and there's all this like bureaucracy going on. The artwork's pretty solid throughout. The story is interesting enough in concept, but it doesn't really do anything super new or unique with it. Like I said, it's kind of like The Good Place, but it's a little bit darker. It's kind of like, what if Terry Gilliam, back in his days of Brazil, had done The Good Place? Maybe we would have gotten something like this. So Silver City was interesting enough, but not different enough from things that we've seen like that. Thank you for the super chat, Woody's Comic Chest. We really do appreciate it. The pick of the week was Rorschach, #8 from DC Black Label. Maniac of New York, #4 is here from Aftershock Comics. Really been liking this one. Another nice throwback to Friday the 13th. This is what if Jason lived after Jason Takes Manhattan, basically, was still in New York, still killing people. What is the story here? So the story itself, like I said, a little derivative, but putting a new spin on it, a new take. It's bloody, it's gory, and it's doing a masterful job with that. Andrea Muti on the artwork, including the coloring, is great. So that character, Harry, is straight up Jason Voorhees. But there is a different spin and twist that gets put onto it here at the end of this issue that I will not spoil. But the biggest thing I love about this book, aside from just continuing the story of Jason Voorhees, right, is that artwork. Look at the beautiful colors there. They're beautiful in a very grotesque type way. They're sickly sweet. These are not colors that are supposed to work together. It's not supposed to be pleasing to the eye, and it captures a tone and an atmosphere that I thought was absolutely 100% fascinating. Scout's Honor is here with issue number 5. That's the final issue from this book by David Pepose and Luca Casalanguida. I freaking love this book. So the whole idea is, what if society ended? There was some kind of apocalyptic scenario, and society rebuilt, and there was this very fanatical form of government that was developed around the Boy Scouts manual. And this story is about a woman who has become a Boy Scout and then finds out some information that throws everything that she has been led to believe into question. And now she has to revert against and rebel against those Boy Scouts and find her own path. The ending of this book was magnificent. It was hard-hitting emotionally, hard-hitting artistically, and as far as the action, it was nonstop and throughout the entire book. David Pepose knows how to take concepts and twist them together and create something new and different and unique, and he knows how to pick great artists, and he's been blessed with artists that absolutely know how to fulfill this vision. And Scout's Honor, just like Spencer and Locke, just like the OZ, just like Going to the Chapel, was a magnificent concept, a perfectly executed book that is just dying to be adapted to the big or the small screen. So that was a fantastic ending. Project Patron, number 2 here from Steve Orlando. Really liked issue 2. Thought issue number 1 was pretty solid, but I really liked issue number 2 as well. It's the basic idea is this. Okay, Project Patron. Patron is a superhero in this world. He's basically, let's just call him Superman. So let's just say Superman died and never came back. But the government can't let you think that Superman actually died, so they create this I don't know if it's a robot or something like that, but these different people come in and they pilot this superhero. So Superman is dead and he never came back, but they have been faking Superman's resurrection this entire time. So it's got that cool concept. It's very well done. It's an easy breezy read with a lot of weighty substance to it, and I'm really digging it. Steve Orlando over at an indie publisher doing way better stuff than he's allowed to over at Marvel or at DC. Project Patron number 2, I'm really digging it. I like it. IDW is here with Kanto and the City of Giants issue number 2. So this is what could be called a filler story in Kanto, but that's okay because all the filler stories in Kanto are doing something. This is building up some more of these characters. It's fleshing out more of this world. It's allowing a different artist to come in. It's allowing the idea that there's a whole world out there for Kanto that we can explore. Sebastian Perez is the artist here. David M. Booher, of course, as the writer. But I'm really liking this book. Kanto gets right to the heart of story, right to the heart of purpose. And in this story, we get the idea of Kanto going through a labyrinth to an ultimate point where he's got to fight like a beastie dragon type thing, right? Come on. That is so hero's journey, and that is exactly what Booher and company have been doing with this book the entire time, and it makes total freaking sense. The artwork is great. The colors are rich and complex, and I'm loving this story. It gets right to it. So there you go. Kanto, City of Giants, number 2 of 3, right? Of 3. Right, Bob? Bob knows. 7 Secrets is here with issue number 8. I loved this book. You got to be kidding me. This is freaking awesome. So 7 Secrets is about these 7 secrets of the world, and there are this whole organization that is pledged to keep the secret. So every secret is in a case, and somebody's holding it, and someone's protecting the person holding it. And it's about this other organization that's trying to find out these secrets and have them released, unleashed on the world, and do their own thing, right? So that's super, super freaking cool. But the first arc did a great job of setting it up, introducing the characters, the organization, and then twisting it all up at the end and setting up something very interesting. The last issue, which was the first issue of the second arc, spun it around again, and now it does it again here in issue number 8. Action-packed. Amazing artwork by Danielle Di Niculio. Really love the artwork. It's very dynamic. It's got great perspective when it needs to. The coloring is popping. The emotional, dramatic bits really hit, and they hit hard. The character work by Tom Taylor is profound and absolutely amazing. Composition is solid. I really like it. It's got a nice, fun manga kind of vibe to it, but very colorful and flamboyant at the same time. Seven Secrets, number 8. Loved it, and that's no secret. And we're starting to learn what some of the secrets are. Because I remember early on saying, if they don't start revealing what the secrets are, we're going to be pissed. Proctor Valley Road, number 3 is here. This is a great issue. Written by Alex Child and Grant Morrison. So very excited to see them on this book. Naomi Franquiz as the artist. It's kind of got like a Stranger Things kind of vibe to it, but a little bit more direct and a little bit more subversive, if that makes sense. So it's an interesting batch of characters. It also feels a little bit like Paper Girls at times, but it does do its own thing. It's about this group of women, young ladies, who are trying to make $1. They're trying to con some dudes out of some money. They take them to Proctor Valley Road, which is this haunted road, and the dudes are just trying to like make it with them, so they just leave them there. All of a sudden, these dudes go missing, and the whole town thinks that they did it, and they're trying to say, no, these monsters and these witches did it. And so it's a rather simple and direct and easily accessible story from Grant Morrison, but it's obviously already set up to be a TV show. I think it's already been picked up, and Alex, I think, is who worked with Grant, I think, on Brave New World, which I really liked, but I'm still liking this book. Really cool. Issue 3 out of 5. Also from Boom, we got Mighty Morphin number 7. Boom Studios is creating, along with the writer Ryan Parrott and the amazing artists here, the best interpretation of Power Rangers we've ever had. Marco Arena is the artwork with Walter Baiamonte doing the coloring. Seriously, going into the past of characters that have never been delved into. Like, there's been work done with Zordon, but never like what's done in here. This is one of the best superhero books out there. It's colorful. It's dynamic. It's got a great flow. It's got great characterization. Personalities clash. It's got humor. It's got wild twists and turns that even the most hardcore of Power Ranger fans will never see coming. It's really exciting. And even if you've never read Power Rangers, and you're a superhero fan, you might want to check out what's been going on in the pages of Power Rangers lately. You might just want to think about that. Space Bastards is here with issue number 5. I believe this is the end of the first arc, because Derek Robertson is not going to be doing the art on the next issue, which is interesting to me. The next issue is actually going to be done by Simon Bisley. So this one really freaking confused me, y'all. I'm not going to lie. I feel like I missed an issue somewhere. I don't know. Maybe I did cover it. Maybe I just don't remember it. But like, really, Space Bastards number 5 completely lost me. Like, I was digging it, and I got what was going on for the most part, but I feel like I missed something. So I can't really say that the book felt disjointed, because I don't know if I read issue 4. But this book has been wild and rambunctious fun, and it continues to be wild and irreverent in issue number 5. Then we got The House of Lost Horizons, a Sarah Jewell mystery, number 1. This is connected to the world of Hellboy, so I checked it out, but it was rather boring. A kind of by the book, by the numbers, Agatha Christie Clue type thing. The art's pretty decent. There's some cool pages there. But these are tricks that we've seen over and over, and even more recently done in other books pretty significantly. Well better done. Well better done? Whatever. Much more better. But House of Lost Horizons was just okay. It's very cliche. It's very ordinary. It's very run-of-the-mill. And it was one of the weaker Mignola-centric books that I've read in a while. And we're going to wrap up tonight with Heavy, with issue number 6, starting off the new arc of Max Bemis's Vault book, Heavy, which is about a dude who dies, and he winds up going to purgatory, and he's a heavy. And the whole thing is that he has to go into the multiverse, and kind of, I don't know, you know how like when Mr. Miyagi teaches Daniel how to like prune a bonsai tree, and he's like, you got to like cut off the bad bits and make sure that it keeps the right shape. That's what they're doing with the multiverse. So when you die, if you don't wind up going to heaven or hell or whatever, I guess you wind up going into purgatory, and you have to work off your stay there by being like, this dude's a badass assassin. He goes and like, in this reality, say Napoleon's going to go too far, so you got to go and kill him or whatever. And he's doing it all for the love of his life. And he's teamed up with the dude who killed his wife. That's crazy, rambunctious wildness. That's all Arc 1. And then they really twist it in Arc 2, where it's him and the dude that killed his wife. So there's him right there, the dude that killed his wife, and now an alternate version of his wife who's totally in love with this dude is there, and just makes it even more wild, more crazy. I would show you some artwork from the inside, but I don't want to show something that I'm not allowed to show. We'll just go with that one, right? Anyway, wild, rambunctious fun, irreverent, subversive, and all that jazz. Anyway, so that's what I read. That's what I thought about it. What are you reading? What are you thinking? What are you digging? Let us know in the comments down below. Thank you so much for checking out the video. Please be sure to like, share, subscribe. Check us out at popculturephilosophers.com for podcasts, blogs, and a whole lot more. Sorry we had to do it live tonight, but I appreciate everybody that was here live and everybody that watched on the replay station. Lots of excitement coming out from Pop Culture Philosophers very soon. Some announcements that you don't even know about yet, but you're gonna lose it when you have it. But I will go ahead and point out that Thursday, 2 p.m. Central Time, Dan Waters, the writer of Homesick Pilots, the writer of Picture of Everything Else, the writer of Lucifer, the writer of Deep Roots, he is going to be here talking with me and Brian. So that's Dan Waters. That's Thursday afternoon, 2 p.m. Central Time. Join us live to chat with a brilliant comic book writer. And Friday night, PCP movie night. That's right. It's Enter the Dragon. It's Brooks's pick, and that's what we're doing. Anyway, we're dipping out. Station, we love you. Thanks for rocking with us.